Hi, this is Mark Swartz. I'm an instructor at the Fitness Center at the Red Mountain campus of Mesa Community College. What I'm going to be doing in this workout video is we're going to be combining two exercises, performing them back to back, and then selecting two different exercises, performing those back to back. Each pairing is going to have 4 sets, and you can be doing anywhere from 6 to 10 repetitions. I'm going to do different progressions of these exercises from a basic one to a more demanding, challenging version, so that depending upon your level, you'll have an option of these to perform on your own. This video will be available to you in the future. If you want to follow it exactly, if you want to change up and choose a more challenging or less challenging exercise for you, that's fine. First thing we're going to do is we're going to begin with a warm-up and activation period. So this is something I always recommend to any individual I work with. So I've got what's called a foam roller. And since I'm going to be doing the workout myself, I'm going to go through my foam rolling routine, which only takes a minute or so. So the purpose of this is any soft tissue, large muscle groups you have, to kind of roll those out, massage them, so that you have a little bit more mobility when performing your strength exercises. So what I'm going to do is start with my upper back, and these are fairly common now. If you don't have a foam roller, there's there's other devices for rolling, even if you have a rolling pin. Okay, you can just take a rolling pin, hit your large muscle groups best you can, thighs, hamstrings, glutes, upper back. Even a tennis ball will work if you just want to mash in to some certain areas. If you want to sit on it, you can put it on the floor, lay back on it, roll around on it, hit your shoulder blade area. Just anything that's going to help break up some adhesions to develop in your muscles so that you can move a little bit freer. So I'm going to kind of abbreviate my normal routine. I'm going to hit my upper back a little bit. Go on my hamstrings, and this is something that takes a little bit of practice to get used to. I'm going to go on my quads, my thighs. I hope you can follow along there. Okay, we can expand this in further videos. We're going to get to more of our activation. These simple movements can be performed as a daily routine or incorporated into your workout. So I'm going to go into what's called a low plank. All I want to do is start to get my central nervous system, my peripheral nervous system activated a little bit to let us know that there's going to be some work coming on. I'm going to go on a side plank for a few seconds. These can be done to any duration of your discretion, your choosing. These can be done every day. I'm going to go on my back. We're going to do some basic glute bridging just to activate the glutes and hamstrings. In our first pair, the hip bridge is going to be an elevated version. It's a little bit more difficult. So both feet solid on the floor, driving through the heels, going to raise the hips. We're moving at the hips, not the spine. Squeeze at the top. I'm going to do one more. And we're going to call that the warm-up for today. Okay, first pair of exercises is going to be an upper body push, and we're going to pair that with a lower body pull or a glute hamstring exercise. So like I said before, we're going to start with a version and progress as we go up. So in addition, if you have a set of dumbbells, if you have your own bench with a barbell, then you can just make it a barbell dumbbell bench press instead of making it a push-up variation. The situation we're in where a lot of fitness centers, gyms are closed, you don't have access to that equipment, then these are other options for you. So the first version I'm going to show you is going to be a tube press. We can do this on the floor, we can do it standing, we can do it sitting. These are real common. Most Targets, Big 5, various sporting goods stores have these. You can get them on Amazon. They're easy to find. Surgical tubing. You can do it with a band too. And this is going to be our first variation. So from here, I'm going to be pressing out and just return. I'm not going to have the elbows come too far back. So I'm going to get, this is a fairly easy resistance. So with this one, I'm going to shoot for about 10 repetitions to maybe 12 repetitions. This again, like I said, this is our beginning level movement. And I'm going to go one more. Okay. Now we're going to come down onto our backs. If you've got a chair or a table that you feel safe putting your heels on to where it won't cause damage to it. So my knees at 90, my hips at 90. I'm going to think about pulling my heels down into the floor, raise the hip squeeze here, and back down. And I'm a little bit sore from yesterday, so I can feel those hamstrings kind of cramp up already. With this version, I'm going to hit 7 or 8 repetitions. I'm going to throw in one more. Okay? Then we're going to repeat our pushing exercise. What I'm going to do now is do a table push-up. And this can be a kitchen counter, it can be a table, it can be a chair, or you can go directly to a floor push-up if you want. But since we're going in progressions, I'm going to add this in. So I put my shoulders right over my hands. This pretty solid table here. Lower myself down, triceps parallel to the floor, push back up. And we're following along with me. I'm going to go one more for 6. Good. I'm going to go back to my glute hand bridge. So we're piggybacking these exercises to make this a little bit more time efficient. With this version, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a single leg variation. So I'm going to have one heel on the chair, one foot off. It can be tucked, extended, wherever you need to have it. And I'm going to do that same movement, but only with one leg, one hip. And you'll find that this is a little bit more challenging. Then we've got to do the other side. And you may find that one side might be a little bit stronger than the other, one side a little less strong, and that's real common. You can maybe focus on that deficient side. 2 sets we've done, okay? Now I'm going to go into a modified push-up. So this can be another variation for you. So what I'm going to do, have the knees on the floor. I'm going to walk my hands out till I have my hips straight, shoulders over my hands. I've eliminated some of the body weight that I'm going to use with this push-up. I'm going to lower myself down, push back up. That's 4, 5. If you find that this version is a little less challenging, we can hit a few higher reps. Maybe in the 10 area. For our next glute hamstring exercise we're going to do is called a Romanian deadlift or a stiff-legged deadlift. So it's going to be incorporating what we call a hip hinge. So I'm going to slide my hips back. I'm not going to bend my knees, push my knees forward. This is going to be a entire hip flexion into hip extension exercise. I'm using a kettlebell. You can use a gallon jug of water. You can use a dumbbell. You can use nothing if that's what you need. Key thing is we're keeping the spine straight. I'm not letting my back or my spine roll forward. With these, I feel a pretty good stretch at the bottom. I'm gonna keep this maybe 10 reps or so. If you'll notice, I'm not really counting. I'm focused on explaining, but I'm getting the work in. Next push-up variation is a standard push-up. So this is progressing. This is going to be a little bit more demanding for me. So I'm going to keep it with 6 reps. Okay. So you choose whatever variation that you need. Start here. Come down to triceps parallel. Keep the spine straight. Try not to peak your hips. And I'm going to go one more. And right there. That was 6 for me. Now with this Romanian deadlift, RDL, stiff-legged deadlift, there's one issue with exercise science that there's not exactly universal terms. So this is going to be a single leg RDL, Romanian deadlift, or a single leg stiff-legged deadlift. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be performing this on my left leg. Okay, my left hip is going to slide back. Actually, both are going to slide back, but I'm going to bring my right leg with it. So that same work that I did on both legs is going to be performed on one leg now. The crucial part of this is when we get to whatever angle you can get, is that we come up under control. These muscle groups, the glutes and the hamstrings, work as hip extensors. So from here to there is when they're, is when they're really under demands. Okay, I'm going to face this way, go on the other side, work my right leg here, reach back, return. I'm doing it next to a table, which you could do too. So if you get into a balance issue, you just lightly touch that table or chair or whatever you need, and then return. I'm going to do one more here. Good. I said 4 sets. We're going to do 5 sets. So we're going to have this as a finish of the first couple. First set we could count as a warm-up. Then we have our work sets. So this is going to be our last work set for a total of 5. 1 warm-up, 4 work. Choose your push-up variation, or floor press, or bench press, or dumbbell bench press. We're knocking out 6 to 10 reps. I got one more. So, good. Okay. I'm going to go back to we can go back to the traditional RDL. If you want to choose the hip bridge off the floor, that's fine. Just remember, doing the hip bridge off the floor, starting position is knees at 9 degrees, hips at 9 degrees. I like these RDLs because they just reinforce a lot of other different movement positions. Spine stays straight. Bring the hips back. The other point is you want to try and keep your shins perpendicular to the floor. If the shins come forward, you have too much knee involvement. And good. That was the first pair. Upper body push, lower body pull, posterior chain. For our next grouping, we're going to do an upper body pull or row with a lower body push, which we're going to call a squat. This is going to have a little bit of instruction in it, so bear with me. For our first couple sets, we're going to go with the tubing again. If you have a bungee cord, if you have a giant band of some type, it's going to be the same piece of equipment. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a tube row. So if we're doing a row, we're doing some type of what we call a horizontal pull here. So with the tube row, I'm going to go with a handle in each hand. Okay, I'm going to go a split stance. So I'm not going, I don't have any rocking or body weight involved. I'm going to stay super solid. I'm going to pull my hands into my hips. So with this variation, okay, we've got both shoulders working at the same time. Elbows are involved as well. And I hit a little bit higher reps there. Okay, for our squat exercise, first variation is just a simple sit-stand. So sitting on the edge of a chair to start with, or if you know a squat, you can go right into a squat. I'm going to sit on the edge of the chair, have my feet solid on the floor. Heels can't come up. Toes can be out. It all depends upon your hip anatomy. Toes can be out wide. They can be straight ahead. Whatever you feel allows you to have the best movement here. And so keeping the spine straight, I can go into hip flexion. I'm simply going to stand. I'm going to reach back for that surface, come back up. If you're just starting with these, put whatever body weight you need on that surface and stand back up. Just try and eliminate the momentum when you come up. Make it a real smooth, controlled movement here. And with these, I'm going to throw in one more. Okay, we're going to progress our row. We're going to take both handles in one hand. I'm going to have the opposite foot forward. Stay nice and solid. Hand into the hip. 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to hit 12 or 10 here. Switch feet, switch hands. Both handles are in my right hand now. Stay nice and solid. Letting the shoulder blade roll forward. Letting the shoulder blade pull back as I do this movement. I'm going to throw in a couple more here. I know I'm not counting, but okay. Back to our squat exercise. Next progression. Same movement, but we're not going to have an object that we sit on or have our body weight on. So this is going to be a progression. I'm going to give you a side view so we understand the angles. Reaching the hips back. Get whatever depth you can without the heels coming off. Your ankle mobility will depend upon your depth, your hip mobility, hip stability. All those will depend upon how deep you're coming. You can do whatever you want with your arms. If you want to cross them across here, put them behind your head, whatever is going to be most comfortable to you. I'm going to do one more here, right there, okay? For our next set of rows, I'm going to do a bent over row. I'm going to use my kettlebell here. If you want to stay with the tube, if you want to use a dumbbell, if you have another piece of equipment, I'm going to try and get my torso parallel with the floor. Hanging here, I'm not going to go into a torso rotation, simply a pull of hand towards the hip. I'm using this table to support my body weight with. I want to take away some of the stress on the low back, make it just an upper back shoulder blade exercise. Not going fast, not using momentum. There. Okay. Next progression. And again, you can go with whatever variation suits you. So we're going to go into a single leg squat variation. It's going to be a split squat. I'm not going to do a lunge. I'm not going to step out. I'm going to have one foot solid. This is my right foot forward. I'm going to try to put as much load in there as possible. Taking my left knee straight down to the floor and back up so that my torso travels in pretty much a straight line. Again, I'm trying to put as much load to that front leg as possible. One more. I'm going to switch. Okay, working the left leg here. Trying to keep my torso, hip traveling up and down. So this is a little bit more challenging because most of the weight, the work is being done by that front leg. Again, trying to keep that shin perpendicular. All right? I'm going to go back to my one arm rows. Support my torso, my body weight, hand on the table, pulling up, down like so. And as you can tell, this is creating a little bit more energy demand since we're going back to back with non-competing exercises. So that's why I'm breathing a little bit heavier here, because our rest in between sets of one exercise is another exercise. 10 there. For our last set, this is real advanced. If you feel better with your sit stand exercise or your air squat, your body squat exercise, stay with those. This is going to be a rear foot elevated split squat. So we've progressed from both feet on the floor to now where we take one foot, elevate it. It's actually going to just basically try and help with the balance, coming down with that same depth, that same angle on a single leg. We're keeping these lower reps. I'm only doing 4 there because now this is super challenging for that leg. The energy demand is a little bit higher. You may have a little bit of a balance issue with this. That's okay. The stronger you get as you progress, the more your balance will be better. And there's 4 there. Last set of my rows. I'm going to get 10 this way. And 10, but that was, gonna switch here, go to the other side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Good work. Fantastic. We're going to catch our breath just for a few seconds here and take a sip of water. We're going to do our mobility period, do a couple stretches. So the first one I like to do is what's called a pretzel. So we're going to be in a sitting position, tilted over on one hip, so kind of leaning sideways. That bottom hip wouldn't have it 90 degrees, bottom knee at 90 degrees, back hip 180 degrees, back knee 90 degrees. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take my hands and do some real light torquing throughout my spine. Okay, we don't have a load through our spine that we're working, so we're not causing damage to the vertebrae of the disc. You're trying to create a little bit of range of motion in upper body. You can try and stay low if you want to keep it a low position. Reach out if you want to stay a little bit taller. People have different mobility levels. So whatever you feel you need for this. Deep breathing. We're coming down back to our normal heart rate now. I'm going to switch, go the other way. Again, so now I'm on my left hip. I got my left hip at 90, left knee at 90, back hip 180 degrees straight through here, back knee at 90. So we're trying to affect this upper hip flexor, the top hip flexor, through our torso and spine. Again, if anytime you have pain, then skip that movement to what we're doing. Good. What I want to do to finish with is a glute ham stretch. So we want to try and stay as tall as possible. I have my left leg straight, cross my right foot over. Okay, a lot of people, what they'll do with this is they'll go into a rotation movement. I like to keep the spine not rotated. Hug this top thigh into us, keeping the spine straight, and I can feel that glute really get opened up and stretched. That hip area is really coming. Go 2 or 3 deep breaths. I'm going to switch. Crossed over there. Trying to stay long here, long through the spine. Trying to pull this left thigh in best you can. And good. Good work. So that's the first of the videos. There'll be others being posted. Follow them, change the variations as you see fit for your own ability. Keep it consistent. Keep working at it. Do mobility stuff every day, and you'll see changes come. Thanks for taking part.